My name is Jason, and this is Just Watches. Well, I've wanted one for years. I tried to sate my lust for one with the NTH Barracuda, but in the end, the NTH just didn't scratch the itch. So I finally went ahead and picked up a Tudor Black Bay 58. Now, before we get to the review of this watch, if you're enjoying the contents of this channel, I invite you to subscribe. And if you're enjoying the contents of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much. For price and availability, the current MSRP of the Black Bay 58 is $4,000 US, but this is a watch that is flipped quite often, and you can usually find a used one in really good condition for about 20 to 30% less than that full MSRP price. The case is 39mm in diameter, 47.5mm lug to lug. It's 12mm thick and then has a 28mm lug with opening. Size for my 6 3/4 inch wrist weighs 134 grams. Now, the case on the Black Bay is quite simple with brushing on the top, a very thin high polish chamfer down the tops of the mid case, and then high polished sides. The top of the lugs do curve down sharply, but the bottom of the lugs only have a gentle curve, so the case overall is quite flat. Luckily for us smaller wristed folks, that short lug to lug is going to help it still wear nicely even on smaller wrists. The brushing is very nice on both the case and the bracelet. The case is really comfortable on the bracelet as well. This is a straightforward and simple case that gets the job done. The stock bracelet starts at 20mm and tapers down to 16 before jumping back up to 18mm at the clasp. The articulation against the back of the watch is fantastic, and between the links is very good, two factors that are very important for the overall comfort of a bracelet. Now, the links are brushed along the top and then sort of capped with these faux rivets. These caps are high polish. Now, I hear many complaints about these faux rivets, and I know people don't like them, but to be honest, I really just don't notice them at all when I wear the watch, so I'm pretty indifferent towards them. The first three links are each slightly smaller than the last, tapering down those 4mm in those first two links. It's a really minor detail, but I like this almost staircase effect of the tapering of the first three links of the bracelet. Now, the clasp is a fold over friction fit style with Tudor etched into the safety catch. Opening the catch reveals the Tudor shield in high polish, and then opening the friction fit releases the scissor. Now, for the friction points, Tudor uses ceramic ball bearings, and the action on them is incredibly consistent and pleasant. I prefer trigger release bracelets, but opening and closing this bracelet is a very pleasurable and tactile experience. The downside on this bracelet is there's only 3 micro positions and there are no half links, which is a major oversight from Tudor. Luckily, I got a good fit, but some people have to buy a third-party half link. This is totally unacceptable on a watch of this price. However, if you can get a good fit, the bracelet is very comfortable. So this watch is powered by Tudor's Caliber MT5402. It's a hacking, hand-winding, 28,800 vibration per hour movement with a 70-hour power reserve, and it is COSC certified, but Tudor says it should run between -2 to +4 seconds a day cased. And as you can see, this one is running in spec between 0 and -1 with the dial up and between 0 and -2 with the crown up. The 6.5mm screw down crown is high polish and decorated with the Tudor rose. The knurling is very fine. The threading and unthreading is butterly smooth, and winding the watch is incredibly tactile and satisfying. It has more of the feel of a hand wind only movement than an automatic. Now, on most watches, I turn the crown backwards to drop the crown into the threads, but on this watch, it's totally not needed. You just start rethreading the watch and it screws in flawlessly. The domed sapphire crystal rises about 1.5mm above the bezel and enhances that retro feel of the watch. Also, despite this massive dome, they still kept the overall thickness of the watch to 12mm, which is fantastic. The 60-click unidirectional bezel has very fine knurling around the edge. The action is exquisite. I think they use ball bearings for this, but I'm not 100% sure. There's also a detent at 12, so the bezel is ever so slightly harder to turn in that position. So if you're neurotic about wondering if you have the bezel lined up, this increased resistance is a fantastic little detail, and it's super easy just to turn it and stop at that perfect alignment at 12. The insert is aluminum, and the printing matches the color of the gilt hands and indices. I like the choice of aluminum here, as this watch is vintage inspired. A ceramic bezel just wouldn't match the theme. There's also a lume pip and a red triangle at 12, and there's something so alluring about that small splash of red. The dial is matte black with a half railroad around the edge in gilt, marking the hours and minutes. Lume-filled indices are applied and also have a gilt finish with the triangle 12, rectangles at 3, 6, and 9, and circles for the remaining positions. The lume is a nice creamy color, and I'm glad they didn't go with full faux patina. We have the Tudor logo, Tudor and Geneva at 12, with the depth rating, chronometer, and officially certified at 6. Honestly, this is quite a bit of text on the dial, but it does blend into the black and gilt of the dial overall, and I don't really notice it or find it that distracting. With the lack of a date, the dial is very symmetrical and the proportions are excellent. The gilt and black is just a gorgeous color combo. The hour and minute hands are edged in the same gilt color found throughout the watch and filled with lume. The hour hand is the Tudor snowflake, while the minute hand is a long baton reaching all the way out to the half railroad at the edge of the dial. The second hand is again gilt and has another loomed snowflake towards the tip. I find this handset very legible, and I've always liked the somewhat odd Tudor snowflake hand, although someone I know does refer to it as a brick, and I think that's actually quite funny. Now the lume on this watch is excellent. It's super responsive, long lasting, and has this bright green hue, and then the color is very consistent throughout. I think it looks really good, and it's easy to read late into the night. Here is the watch on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. Now, I've always liked the Black Bay design, but it wasn't until the smaller Black Bay 58 version that I started to seriously consider one. Now, despite being quite flat overall, the short lug-to-lug and inverted end links really help it wear nicely. So, pros and cons, starting with the pros. First, I think this really could be a one-and-done watch. It's near perfect. The tactile action on this watch is excellent. From the incredible 60-click bezel with the detent that helps you stop at 12, to the super satisfying click of the clasp, those ceramic ball bearings, and finally the really robust and quality feeling of feedback when you're hand winding this watch. All of those little details on this watch are really dialed in, and it just gives an overall feeling of quality. Second, I think the gilt and black color scheme of this watch is gorgeous. There's just something so striking about it, and I'm still taken aback by this watch when I pull it out of the box and I just look at it for the first time in a while. The design and color scheme on this is perfect. Third, they somehow made the stainless steel feel really luxurious with the brushing. It's hard to capture in video, but in person it looks fantastic. As for cons, first, while the bracelet is comfortable, the lack of half links or any quick adjustment is really annoying. This watch has been out for a while now, and I expect it will get refreshed, and hopefully Tudor will add the T-Fit or one of their other quick adjust systems to the clasp, and that will solve that problem. Second, the small negative link will let the first full link right up onto the end link when you set the watch down on the bracelet, and that has caused a bit of wear on the end links on mine. This doesn't bother me, but it's just something to note if you are sensitive to wear and tear that I've noticed. Don't set this watch down into its own bracelet because of that kind of unique setup. It can cause that wear on the end link over time. As for comparables, for less, definitely check out the Seiko SPB239. This watch has a similar gilt colorway and some of the same aesthetic. For way less, you could just get the San Martin Homage. This is actually a great way to get a feel for a watch before purchasing the more expensive watch it's homaging. And then for around the same price, you could consider something like a Longines Legend Diver. This is another vintage inspired watch from a major Swiss brand. And then for more, you could always consider something like a Seamaster 300, which is another vintage inspired diver from Omega. So there you have it, the Tudor Black Bay 58. What do you think about this watch? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, if you're enjoying the contents of this channel, I invite you to subscribe. If you like the contents of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. That's all for this time. My name is Jason, and you've been watching Just Watches.